A very hardworking young man, very thoughtful, good athlete.
Just a guy who always likes to do things for others in a way. He's always really been selfless.
He was just positive, handsome, charismatic, outgoing, caring, giving.
Just a guy who brought a really immediate sense of trust to the people he was around, and just a genuine trust.
The kind of person that everyone wants to be friends with. Everyone feels comfortable being themselves around him. Just a fun-loving guy.
Tyler Cross, an example of an all-American young man. Intelligent, athletic, passionate. The son of two proud parents from a tight-knit community outside of Atlanta. Like many moms and dads, they counted their blessings and looked forward to what he could achieve. When Tyler considered colleges, he found a school where he could prosper, the University of Texas at its main campus in Austin. He could pursue an engineering degree and continue to play the sports he loved. During his high school years at the Lovett School, Tyler was a captain for both his football and lacrosse teams. He sang in the chorus and took active roles in other groups and in his community. He was adored by teachers, coaches, students, and parents. Tyler made a name for himself and touched other people's lives.
The impact that any one person has is always going to be dramatic. Tyler's was huge.
The first thing I think about still when I think about Tyler is a beautiful smile, and a smile that was for everybody, not just the other athletes.
Tyler's choice to attend UT allowed him to be away from home, but still close enough to family. His brother Colin had been there for several years. It was a way for him to follow in the steps of his older brother, but a way to create his own path at the same time. Tyler would follow Colin's lead in joining a fraternity as well, but that decision to pledge Sigma Alpha Epsilon cost Tyler his life.
If I had known what was going to happen to them, I would have never let either one of them. Don and I would have never let either one of them be in a Greek organization, or in that one.
Just as he and his pledge brothers were looking forward to ending their pledge term and heading home soon for the holidays, tragedy struck. On an otherwise routine Friday morning in mid-November, Tyler's parents, Don and Debbie Cross, received a frantic phone call from their oldest son.
I think he just kept saying, Tyler's dead. And because that's what I kept saying, no, you got to be wrong. I said, you got to go look again. It can't be Tyler.
It was extremely devastating, but if it happened, I knew that there wasn't anything I could do about Tyler, and I was concerned about what the impact was on Colin.
A passerby found Tyler's body on the sidewalk outside the university towers, the building where he lived. He had fallen 5 floors from his balcony. His hopes for a promising future and a successful college career were now gone, and no one understood how it could happen to him. While his family, his friends, and his community mourned their loss, investigators and the University of Texas turned their attention to the details of what happened. As their questioning began, it became clear to the Crosses that Tyler's death was not a random act.
The activities and the range of activities that were occurring in the hazing process had been escalating.
That's a lot of what I think about now is kind of what was the point of that? What was the point of that?
Tyler's death sparked an investigation and would later lead to both criminal and civil cases. But as officials began digging for information, a disturbing pattern started to take shape. They learned what was not on the surface, behaviors and events that had been taking place in the months leading up to the accident. All eyes focused on SAE, and allegations grew about what the brothers of the Texas Row chapter were doing as part of their pledge program. They included actions that violated the national policies and that clearly broke the law in the state of Texas. The county attorney's office filed a search warrant for a Google group specifically for Tyler's pledge class, retrieving hundreds of pages of content. What they found was shocking. According to affidavits and official reports, the pledges discussed the activities during their pledgeship. They say they were assaulted by active members of the fraternity, beaten with bamboo sticks and pieces of wood, and forced to commit theft. At other points, they were shocked with cattle prods, forced into difficult physical stances or calisthenics, and forced to consume large amounts of alcohol.
They just had them doing menial tasks. It was part of their pledgeship to have to be over there doing work all the time.
Investigators say the night of Tyler's death, he had been drinking, and his blood alcohol content was twice as high as the legal limit. There were questions then about who gave him the alcohol. Reports also show Tyler was sleep deprived, and he and his pledge brothers were working long, late hours on an annual project pledges were required to do. Every year, the SAE chapter held a jungle party, a popular theme party with fraternities and sororities on certain campuses. The goal was to create a jungle set or decor for the event, and according to reports, the pledges bore the brunt of the work for the one the SAE chapter was about to have. The jungle party was supposed to culminate the pledge process. Having taken several weeks to build, brothers and alumni considered it a tradition and allowed the pledges to enjoy the party once they finished. Instead, the process culminated in a series of events that led to the perfect storm.
I kind of just see it as one of those just, unnecessary tragedy type of deals, where something, all these things kind of come together that you have no idea why it ends up happening, but it just kind of does.
Had Tyler been hazed the night of his death? Was he so tired that his body could no longer function properly? These are the questions the crosses asked as investigators pieced together his final hours. Testimonies say Tyler and several pledge brothers participated in an event with senior brothers known as Senior Boo. They were put through a series of challenges, which included drinking, even though they intended for the event to be a reward for the best pledges. A doctor later studied the details and depositions in Tyler's death and formulated a report that would shed light on that evening, citing that he had been up for nearly 20 hours, and concluding that Tyler's extreme sleep deprivation, coupled with alcohol consumption, was a direct cause of his actions and decisions leading up to his death. Tyler's mother says the night her son died, she knew he was exhausted because of the fraternity.
He had taken his roommate to the airport early in the morning because his grandfather had died, and he called me after that and said he really hadn't had more than 3 hours sleep in a week.
Tyler returned to his dorm late at night, and at some point he stepped onto his balcony, though no one is sure why or how he fell. But just a few hours later, his body was found shortly after 4 a.m. Colin, Tyler's brother, who had seen him just a few hours before, got a knock at his door from police. He faced the unthinkable, having to confirm his brother's death and then breaking the news to his parents.
It's one of those surreal experiences that you never expect to have. And I still remember, vividly that call, unfortunately.
And while the family tried to come to terms with losing Tyler, other groups focused on taking immediate action. The University of Texas expelled a number of SAE members. Soon after investigators started to uncover more details, 4 members were charged with various crimes. 3 of them, including the chapter president, for hazing and providing alcohol to minors, and 1 of them for witnessing hazing but failing to report it. Hazing laws and definitions vary by state, but generally, hazing refers to any activity that humiliates, degrades, or risks emotional and/or physical harm, regardless of the person's willingness to participate. Many cases are linked to fraternities, sports programs, and the military, yet many cases go unreported. In most states, hazing is a misdemeanor, but in other states, hazing is a felony. And in some places, witnessing hazing or failing to report it can be a crime as well. Often, officers or leaders are held accountable for hazing because of their responsibility to the group.
And that's what's so disappointing, that these boys expected that that's what they were expected to do. And no one ever challenges them or asks them, I think, until a tragedy like Tyler's happened.
Debbie and Dawn Cross grew increasingly frustrated with each detail that came forward in the case. They felt the chapter's advisors knew the tradition of hazing existed and failed to stop it.
Every pledge class almost feels like they have to do a little bit more than what was done to them to carry on this tradition and so forth.
The Crosses decided it was time to pursue a civil case, naming the chapter, its advisors, and the national headquarters in the suit, each serving as a responsible party, they say, in Tyler's death. They believe the SAE chapter their sons joined had a pattern of risky behavior that was handed down generation to generation, pushing the envelope each time in order to uphold what everyone called tradition. Eventually, after months of stress and coping with the loss of Tyler, the Crosses settled the case. Yet the scars remain.
I didn't believe it the day of, didn't believe it for months afterwards. I finally, after months and probably years, kind of began to make peace with it. But still, I mean, it's just, you don't ever really get over it.
I think about not only the loss of a great young man, but what our family has lost in terms of him growing up.
In the years following Tyler's death, Dawn and Debbie Cross have taken their message to others, to educate them on what happened and to warn them about the dangers of hazing, poor decision-making, and alcohol use. They started a campaign and call it Live for a Reason, a tribute to the kind of passion Tyler exhibited every day. They set up a scholarship fund at the University of Texas in Tyler's name for students who excel in life just as he did. And Tyler's high school in suburban Atlanta dedicated a special walkway, known as the Crosswalk, to memorialize Tyler's spirit that made his peers so proud.
So every year, it kind of allows us to rededicate, who we want to be as people and as a program in Tyler's memory.
At his funeral, the pastor talked about living for a reason, and that was a big thing that all of our Pledge Brothers talked about afterward.
Although time has passed, the Crosses say Tyler's story remains a timeless lesson to share. His room in their home, preserved as it looked the last time he was there, a sort of chapel that gives them comfort. His high school, a place where new students hear his name and understand the legacy he left. The fraternity he entrusted as a pledge, a home to new generations of members the Crosses hope never have to endure what Tyler did. The Cross family will not be the same without Tyler, but with the memory of his smile, his laugh, and his passion forever etched in their minds, they hope Tyler inspires other young men and women to live for a reason and to take action before it's too late.
If God had come to you when Tyler was born and said, I've got an angel I'd want to give to you, but you can only have him for 18 years, would you still want him? And I would say absolutely, because he brought us so much joy.